So I'll just give a brief overview of what I was going to do. Basically, over the last 5 or 6 years, I've had the pleasure and pain of writing reviews and doing a lot of literature research. So inside my head, there is a sort of an index of a lot of the papers that are out there in the literature. And so I thought I would actually provide a guide to this literature. Most of this talk will be an overview, but I'll take you to where you can have a look at the papers online soon. So, based on 2 different reviews I finished in the last 5 years, I was actually just thinking then that each member of each of the reviews is actually in attendance. So, and 3 of them are sitting in the middle there, Rob, Lena and David, and Louise is over there from this 2014 paper from where we reviewed astronomy student research projects, not necessarily robotic telescopes. And then this year, me and Edward Gomez did this paper. He's up the back. Yeah. So in the process, I've collected all the literature together, and it's not a coherent set, and it's not all in one place. So I've put all the abstracts up online, and I'll show you how to get that there, but I didn't add any purely astronomy projects, even those with student involvement. So if you go to istardb.org, and go to browse by subject, and then click there, it actually lists all the abstracts for all literature that I know about. Okay, and I didn't mean to leave anything out, so if I left your papers out, I would really like to know about them. And it's my bias, like some papers could be considered one of these types of papers, some not, so it's biased to what I think. So there is a bias there, and of course it's English speaking. So by year, you can see that most of the articles that I've found has been since 1990 up to the present day. This is also probably an incomplete sample because my first review paper I stopped at about 1990, basically when CCDs were coming around. So what type of articles are there in that? So there's broadly just straight astronomy education articles, so big reviews that are relevant to our field. We have some of the more technical or historical articles. Then we have some of the kind of relevant things to know about astronomy education and how to undertake it. We have my review papers, of course. And then there's a lot of papers about different projects and what they do, what they've done. A bit of instrumentation, so LCO and the Spirit Telescope in Western Australia, and some about the software that's relevant. Some more radio-focused papers, and some more in-depth education papers. And the last one is, there's a lot of position papers, people giving their ideas, their theories about how things work. So you can see it's a bit of a mixed bag. So in total there's 245 articles, but they're all published in 61 different places. And 49 of them, only 12 of these didn't publish more than 5 times. So 49 different journal books and stuff have 1 or 2 of our articles. So it's spread quite thinly over a large area of literature. So here's a table. So just look at the percent or frequency. These are the ones that are over 5 articles. Just give you a second to look at it. Okay, so the elephant is Astronomy Society Pacific Conference Proceedings. So that's a quarter of all the articles were from that. Spread over 15 different conference series. So you could consider the booklets different different journals. And so there's only 4 that got above 5. So a couple of the earlier John Percy conferences and a couple of recent science education conferences related to the Astronomy Society of the Pacific. So the main places that these articles are ASP Conference Proceedings, and this number's how many I've got. American Journal of Physics, this book here, from the early 90s, late 90s. Astronomy Education Review, the now defunct Astronomy Education Journal. Conference book from 2008, the JABSO. Publications of the Astronomy Society of Australia actually accepts education articles. So it's the only astronomy journal I know that specifically says that's okay. So, and publications of the Astronomy Society of Pacific, which is more the instrumentation kind of articles. And of course, this was a 2011 conference that Ross was involved in. And there was a 3-volume set called The Future of Small Telescopes in the New Millennium, which was around 2000, which has 15 articles, but the 3 volumes have hundreds of articles, so it was easy to get a high number. Okay, some earlier books I haven't been able to get a copy of, so I haven't been able to include them because I haven't been able to read them. And I need to go back in time and fill this out a little bit. Okay, so let me know if there's something missing from this batch. And because I'm just giving an overview, I just thought, how will I measure impact? And most of you know citations, who writes and references your work in future publications. So I've decided that I'd figure out how many citations a paper got per year, up to a maximum of 7 years, because after 7 years you wouldn't expect to cite it anymore. But the citations, it's a kind of an apples and orange at this problem, because you're comparing education articles to astronomy articles. And education articles, down here on the left, for equivalent professors in equivalent institutions, people in the humanities and social sciences have less papers than those in the normal sciences. And they also have far less citations than straight science. And the H index is also much different. I won't explain what that is, but if you know what it is, it's different. Also, the average number of authors on any article is quite different. So you have education here with 3 authors average per article, and then here's astronomy, which is 23. So you can see if you have more authors on your articles, then you'll get cited more. So it's just a numerical thing. So here's a histogram of the citation performance. So frequency, and then how many cites per year. So you can see our peak is at 0. And so I just wanted to briefly show the impact of the major places we've published. So I've categorized them into astronomy education, and astronomy, if that makes sense. So broadly, the medians, which is this line here, and the range is sort of similar, but you definitely have outliers. Also, by the major books that they came out of, I might just skip ahead a little bit, and if I have time I'll come back to that. But basically, books and conference proceedings cite fairly lowly, much lower than journals, which have a higher range as well. This is always color on my slides. Skip ahead, sorry. I also categorized into what level of data was included in the papers. So it started off that we're just saying, I'm going to do this, and then as I went up the categories, more and more data were included. So, as you can see, as you put more data in and more information, your citation rate goes up, as you'd expect. Also, I went through and kind of gave it a number depending on what kind of discussion about the data was there. You know, this is going to happen, this is what happened, and then if you got more sophisticated and trying to analyze what was going on, your citation goes up. I mean, if you thought about it, that's what you would expect. The more detail you put in, the more people will find it useful. So I thought, here we are, all from different fields. Where would we publish for, in this field? So this is the big ones here. So books tend to underperform and they're really hard to get access to. Astronomy Education Review doesn't exist anymore, so we can't publish that. If you're at a conference, definitely publish here. I'm spruiking myself now. But don't just go to a conference just for the publication. Go to the dinner and talk. And if you have a PhD, don't do another thesis. But if you don't have a PhD, do one. So that leaves kind of, oh yeah, and the American Journal of Physics, despite the title, is not a scientific journal. It's just more about experiments, things like that, rather than dealing with data. So we've only got 3 places from that list that I'd recommend publish. And they're all good for different reasons. PASA, I'm not being nationalistic, spruiking Australia, it's just they had an education, they accept education papers. Astronomy Education Review would have been good, but it's gone. We have the Journal of Astronomy and Earth Sciences Education, which has only been around for a few years, so didn't score on the Richter scale because there's only been a few issues. And there's a special issue of Physical Review Special Topics coming out, which might be a nice text to publish. If you're going to branch out towards education, it's harder than you think, so get some advice. Here are some. It's harder to publish there, because I've published in both. And you don't get as many sites as for the reasons before. But be wary of predatory journals if you're considering it. Because if you type in Journal of Science, Education, and Technology into Google, the first hit is actually a predatory journal that's just rearranged the name a little bit. So watch out. Okay. So this conference actually was sort of sourced out of the 2014 paper, in a sense, when I was meeting with Rachel and met Russ. The recommendation, so once you publish something, try and get it out into the world. Also make sure you cite each other's work. I know it's been difficult because it's all over the place, but hopefully my abstract list will help you out. But also make sure you cite yourself. I've noticed some people don't cite their earlier work. It's interesting. I mean, yeah. So I'm a bit out of time, but yes, make sure you publish. If you don't publish something, nobody knows you did it. Okay, I'll just stop there. I'm out of time. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
There's another journal that came to mind that might be relevant for this audience, which is an offshoot of the SPIE, which is the journal JTIS, Journal of Astronomical Telescopes, Instruments, and Systems, which seems it's a fairly new journal, but I've actually had some success publishing in that journal because the test paper,
okay.
That journal, it seems like it might be relevant for this audience.
Lovely. I'll look it up. Thank you very much. All right.
So are you just looking for things with an education slant, or are you also interested in robotic telescopes?
Robotic telescopes as well. So I haven't put your books in there yet, but I was going to pick your brain when I was
there's some early IEEE and Society of Astronomical Sciences stuff on robotic telescopes, but I'd be glad to talk with you and contribute.
Yeah.
So if I had educational research on robotic telescopes and wouldn't know if I should go into an astronomy journal or an educational journal, what would you pick?
If your team member includes an education researcher or someone from the education department, I'd probably try to go towards the education journal. But if you're doing it by yourself, I'd probably try the astronomy journal first. But if you're going to do education research, there are certain things that don't crop up instantaneously to the astronomer's mind, which I experienced a few years ago.
I agree. Is there a risk then now that this audience, us, will not see the paper because we publish in an educational journal which we perhaps don't
That
need
is-
to publish.
That is the risk. So in the 5, I suggested they're all kind of astronomy slanted journals that I recommend. Yes?
So it seems to me, though, that in some sense accentuates a central problem that we have, which is if you're trying to do astronomy education with robotic telescopes, or in fact any form of education where scientists are contributing to education, there tend to be a lot of things where they're in 2 camps. There's either educators who don't have professional scientists in them, in their group who are doing things, and there's scientists who don't really have professional educators doing things, and the result is a lot of either lack of communication or missing basic things just because you don't have somebody in the group who understands the other aspect. We publish in science journals. The educators don't see that at all. We're, again, insulating ourselves.
I completely agree. I don't have anything to add to that. Other than the rich diversity of co-authors makes papers better. So that's true.
I would suggest one of our rules of thumb might be if you're starting up a project, or perhaps even if you're publishing about a project, make sure you've got at least 1 scientist and 1 educator on the team.
That would be a good idea. Do you have a question, Carl?
At least up to a year or so ago, the Latin American Journal of Astronomy Education was active. Did you mention that?
It doesn't have 5 papers on the topic. I didn't include just straight astronomy education stuff. It had to have some slant towards student research telescopes.
Yeah, Paolo is really interested in everything we do. I think that, if somebody wanted to publish there, that would be a great site. Right?
Yeah, that is the Latin
Very,
American.
very decent guy and very educational centered, but open to everything to do.
Yes, that is another journal. The Brazilian journal,
Latin American
Latin American
Journal.
Journal of Astronomy Education. Yeah, that's another point. So, just an amount of time. So, how do you ask people to thank you?